This is round 2 of my induction heater project. You were using IRFP250s. This time I have a power regulated power supply, so it's current regulated, setting it at 19 volts. And here's the setup. Pretty much everything's just piecemeal together here. I'm going to put it on a perf board at some point, but right now I just wanted to test it. Here's the oscilloscope tracing of the gate of the MOSFET and the coil, the work coil itself, and they look fairly in phase. Not the best looking curve shape, but do look in phase. That's the main thing. And I'm just using a digital oscilloscope, as you can see here. And you can see how the waveforms change when I put a load into the work coil. It's kind of interesting to see. It still stays in phase, but it just decreases the amplitude. I've limited the power by putting a 10 ohm resistor in series between the power supply and the circuit, just for testing purposes, because I didn't want to short out the power supply right on the first attempt. So, and that resistor is getting pretty hot. So this is just to be able to record the oscilloscope tracings and to make sure that the circuit does produce some minimal heating, which it did do on the first attempt. You can see that big resistor there. I put a heat sink on it, and I put plenty of thermal paste, and that thing is really hot. So there's a good amount of power flowing into the circuit, which to my surprise is oscillating. And you can see how I made the toroid. I made that out of a flyback core and just wrapped some 14 gauge wire around it. Here's just changing the parameters on the oscilloscope, and you can see the waveforms. The bottom yellow trace is the gate of the MOSFET, and the blue trace is the work coil. Everything looks fairly much in phase. It's not the best looking sinusoidal curve though, but we're going to see how this pans out. Well, lots more of the sinusoidal curve, or semi-sinusoidal curve there. There's that toroid, which isn't really a toroid, it's a ferrite core from a flyback. Alright, now for some testing. Got a big fat screwdriver here. This thing is a heavy duty screwdriver, and we'll see what it does to that. As you can see, it's beginning to glow, and it's starting to get pretty hot. And now it's glowing pretty bright orange, and it's just getting hotter and hotter. It took about less than 30 seconds, I believe, for that to heat up to glowing. And it's staying red hot. And I can feel the heat just pouring out of that coil. You can see that thing, that's a lot of heat. A lot of induction heating. Let's give it a second round here. It's heating up again. I'm sure if I up the voltage, I'm working at 19 volts, but I'm sure if I up the voltage even further, it may start to melt the metal. The coil itself, when I was done with this, stayed relatively cool. I mean, it was warm, but you could still touch it. It was not hot. Now let's try a little induction experiment here. I've got a little 12-volt light bulb. We'll do that next. And that does produce some wireless energy transfer there, and you can see the way it lights that 12-volt light bulb up. I'm using some narrow gauge, just some test leads that are wound up into 3 turns, and it's inducing enough current to make that 12-volt light bulb white hot, or glow white. Very nice. I did, after I was done with all of this, touch the MOSFETs, and they were just barely warm. So the circuit seems to be pretty efficient and in tune. The original one I made, the MOSFET just heated up to red heat and then failed. So at least this one, I know that everything's in tune. As you can see from the oscilloscope. And here's the circuit diagram for those of you that are interested in making this. It's relatively simple to make. You can pretty much just paste it together on a piece of board with some nails and screws and pieces of sheet aluminum. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to subscribe if you like these videos, and I'll be putting a lot more up there. I'm planning on making some more induction heaters and trying some different circuit topologies to see how that looks. Thanks for watching.